Alpha women have a dilemma. Do they date down or do they wait for their dream man? There's no secret that we have an oversupply of successful women in our mating marketplace. And one researcher in Scotland, Dr. Fiona Moore, coined a term which is the George Clooney effect. Her research shows that the more education and the more money a woman gets, the more she wants her husband to be older and more attractive and make as much money. So the question is, do you date down or do you wait and roll that dice hoping to find George Clooney? That depends on your age and your reproductive goals. So if you're 38 years old and you definitely want a family, you might want to stop waiting for George to call, and you might want to look a little closer at that really nice guy who came to fix your faucet.
What she's describing is this concept that's been known for many ages, called hypergamy, and which is the tendency of usually women to date higher, they date up. The more and more women tend to choose partners who make equal or more in terms of income. And so what she's saying is there's an oversupply of this. And so I was trying to understand this. I'm like, well, what do you mean by oversupply? And if you look at the college graduation or enrollment statistics, here's an article by the Boston Globe about how the college gender gap has transformed the dating world. And there's a good amount of statistics here. Women now outnumber men on college campuses, and it's not by a little. It's quite a large amount. And here's like a graph that shows like the gap between women and men in colleges. Since the 2000 time or so, there's been a surge in enrollment of women versus men, and this is partly because women mature faster than guys, and so a lot of times their mind is more mature, more developed, and they're able to perhaps score higher on standardized test scores. They're able to think more critically in some of these academic principles, and and have a more, I guess, drive or discipline to kind of study. And so that's that we're seeing that in the statistics here, where there's a lot more women on college campuses these days. Here's an example of cities, right? So we have North Carolina, DC, Santa Clara, which is Silicon Valley, and Suffolk. And you'll see the blue bars is basically women, and the red is men. And you'll see the blue higher than the red for three of these four cities. And Silicon Valley is an exception, right? There's a lot of guys doing like computer related stuff. But, in other major cities around the country, we're generally seeing a lot more women than men in college campuses. And there's a lot of anecdotal evidence where people note that, that they know tons of single women. They're highly educated, highly super successful, multiple degrees, and a lot of them are just kind of waiting it out. Like they have certain standards. They're not willing to budge on those standards. Mm-hmm. They want that guy who's in general
3:1 ratio,
6 feet, 6-pack abs, and 6 figures. And the more income that a woman has, generally the higher the standards are.
which is like -1% or rarely that 1% touching. And guys, same way too. They also have higher standards and would want the -1.7% of women who are not only highly educated but very astute, good looking, can hold their own part.
Yeah, there's data that shows that actually both guys and girls like the other side having more income.
Exactly.
And they call
if not equal, or
but for guys, girls really like guys who make a lot of money. Yeah, so this article